Look at this, everyone. The janitor's kid thinks he can do math. The whole class turned. 26 kids twisted in their seats to look at the boy standing at the board. His name was Kofi. He was 12 years old, and he wore a gray hoodie with a small bleach stain near the pocket. He held a blue marker in his right hand. The marker squeaked on the board when he tried to write his name. The teacher, Mr. Delacroix, sat at his desk in the back of the room. He looked up from his papers but said nothing. He had a thin face and small glasses that sat low on his nose. He taught advanced mathematics at Whitmore Preparatory Academy, which was the kind of school where parents paid more per year than most people made in 2 years. Kofi did not belong here. That was what most people in the room believed. He was here on a scholarship. A city scholarship, the kind where one kid from the public school district got tested and picked. The kind of scholarship that made the parents in this school sign letters of complaint. The boy who spoke first was named Breck. He sat in the second row. His father was on the school's board of directors. Breck had a blazer with a school crest on the pocket, and his hair was always cut clean on the sides. "My dad says those scholarships are just charity," Breck said, loud enough for half the room to hear. 2 girls near the window laughed into their hands. A boy in the back row made a low sound that was not quite a word. Mr. Delacroix looked up again. "Mr. Assant, you volunteered to solve the bonus problem. Please go ahead." The bonus problem was on the left side of the whiteboard. Mr. Delacroix had written it at the start of class and told them it was optional, meant for students who wanted extra credit. No one had raised their hand for 40 minutes. Then Kofi raised his. The problem read like this: a particle moves along a curve defined by a parametric equation. Find the total arc length over a defined interval. It was a problem from first-year university mathematics. Mr. Delacroix had warned them it was very hard. Kofi looked at the board. He did not look at Breck. He did not look at the girls by the window. He uncapped the blue marker and he began to write. The first line came fast. Then the second. His hand did not slow down. He was not guessing. He moved from one line to the next the way someone moves through a room they have walked through 1,000 times before. Breck leaned toward the boy next to him. "He's just copying something he memorized," Breck said. "He doesn't even know what it means." Kofi kept writing. The marker made clean sounds on the board, 12 lines, 14, 17. On the 18th line, he stopped. He looked at the board for 3 seconds. Then he made one small correction on line 15, crossed out 2 terms and wrote the correct expression. Then he finished. The last line was the answer. It was clean. It was correct. Mr. Delacroix had moved from his desk without anyone noticing. He stood 5 feet behind Kofi now, reading every line from the bottom. Of his glasses, his mouth had opened slightly. He did not speak right away. He read it a second time, then a third. "Mr. Assant," he said, and his voice had a different sound in it now. "Where did you learn this method?" "My father showed me," Kofi said. Breck made a short, sharp laugh. "His janitor dad taught him university calculus, sure." "My father is not a janitor," Kofi said. He said it clearly. He did not say it loud. He capped the marker and placed it back on the board tray. "He fixes things," said a boy near the door, and a few people laughed again. "He does fix things," Kofi said. "He also has 2 graduate degrees and published 4 papers before he was 30. The room went quiet. Not the polite quiet of people listening. The hard quiet of people trying to recalculate something. "Then why is he working at this school as a custodian?" Breck asked, and his voice had less confidence in it now. But still enough. Kofi looked at him. "Because he is watching me. He wanted to be in the same building as me. Every single day." No one in the room had a response to that. Mr. Delacroix cleared his throat. "This solution is complete and correct." He said it once and then he turned and walked back to his desk. He picked up his red pen and he wrote something in his book. Kofi walked back to his seat. He pulled out his notebook and opened it to the page he had been working on before class started. He kept writing where he left off. No one could see what was on that page from where they sat. But the girl next to him, her name was Priya, and she was the second best student in the class. she could see part of it. What she saw made her turn her head and look at Kofi differently than she ever had before. What she saw were pages of dense, original notation. Not textbook problems, not homework, it looked like research. She did not say anything. She turned back to her own notes, but she thought about what she had seen for the rest of the day. Breck was used to being the best at everything in this school. He was used to it the way a person gets used to a room temperature. He did not notice it until something changed. His father made large donations at the end of every year. Breck had won the school's math competition 2 years in a row. He was being prepared, his father said, to take over a company that managed the retirement funds of over 60,000 people. After class, Breck stopped Kofi in the hall. 2 of Breck's friends stood behind him like furniture. "You want to act like you're something special," Breck said. "One right answer doesn't make you special." "I know," Kofi said. "My father is going to talk to the head of the school about your scholarship review," Breck said. "They do those every term, you know. They can pull anyone's funding." Kofi looked at him. "Okay," he said. "That's all you have to say." "That is all I have to say right now," Kofi said. He picked up his bag from the floor and walked to his next class. Breck watched him go. He did not like how that felt. That night in a small apartment 6 miles from the school, Kofi sat at a table covered in papers. Across from him sat his father, Nana Asante. Nana was a broad man with short gray at his temples and hands that were rough from years of physical work. He wore a worn university sweatshirt from a school in Ghana. On the wall behind him were 2 framed degrees and a photograph of a much younger Nana standing in front of a whiteboard at a conference, pointing at an equation. "They laughed today," Kofi told him. "Yes," said Nana. He poured 2 small glasses of water. "Breck said his father would go after my scholarship." "Yes," said Nana again. He slid 1 glass toward Kofi. "You are not worried," Kofi said. "I am watching to see what you do with the worry," Nana said. Kofi drank from his glass. He pulled the top paper from his stack and laid it flat. "I finished the 6th section tonight." Nana leaned forward and looked at the page. He read carefully. He turned to the next page and read that one too. He sat back. "This is very good work, Kofi. How many more sections?" "2 more. Then we write the abstract, then we submit." "And if they accept it?" Kofi asked. "Then a 12-year-old from a public school scholarship will have a published paper in an international mathematics journal," Nana said. He picked up his own pen and got to work. They sat together and worked in silence for 3 more hours. The apartment was warm. Outside, the street was quiet. At 11 o'clock, Nana told Kofi to sleep and Kofi went to bed. Nana kept working until 2 in the morning. Then he put on his uniform for the next day, set it on the back of a chair, and went to sleep. The school's scholarship review happened on the 3rd Thursday of each month. It was run by a small committee, the head of school, 2 senior teachers, and 1 parent representative. The parent representative this month was Breck's father, Aldous Fenwick. He had been on the parent committee for 4 years without a break. Aldous Fenwick wore suits that cost more than a car. He had a way of sitting in chairs that made the chair look like it belonged to him. He had heard about Kofi from Breck, and he had heard about the bonus problem solution, and he had decided before he entered the room that this scholarship would not survive the meeting. The head of school was a woman named Dr. Carla Hinz. She had run Whitmore for 11 years. She was careful and measured, and she did not like surprises. She had the scholarship file open on the table in front of her when Aldous arrived. "Kofi Asante," Aldous said, before Dr. Hinz could begin. "The public school kid. I'd like to discuss the ongoing value of his placement here." "The review is meant to assess academic performance," Dr. Hinz said carefully. "His performance is strong." "Strong is not the issue," Aldous said. "Fit is the issue. Culture. Whether the student represents the standard of this institution." He opened his own folder. He had printed things. He had notes with bullet points. "I have 3 other parents ready to sign a petition requesting removal of the scholarship on the basis of cultural fit." Dr. Hinz looked at him for a moment. "That is not a legal basis under our charter," she said. "It may not have to be legal," Aldous said. "It may just have to be visible." A public conversation about whether this school's scholarship program is serving its intended purpose. The other two teachers at the table said nothing. They were looking at the middle distance. Dr. Hinz closed the folder. "I'll take it under consideration." Aldous leaned back. The chair did belong to him now, at least in his mind. He smiled once and then he stopped smiling because he thought it was more powerful not to smile. Priya found Kofi at lunch the next day. She sat across from him without asking. She put her tray down and looked at the notebook he was writing in. "What are you working on?" she asked. "A paper," he said. "What kind of paper?" "Mathematics." She looked at him steadily. "I saw your notebook in class, the pages with the original notation." Kofi looked up. "I've never seen that kind of work from someone our age," she said. "Not even close." "My father and I have been working on it for 2 years," Kofi said. "What is the paper about?" "A new way to describe the motion of fluids through curved surfaces at very small scales," he said. "It is useful for designing things like medical devices and very small machines." Priya was quiet for a moment. "That sounds like something a university would publish," she said. "That is where we are submitting it," Kofi said. She looked at him for a second more. Then she picked up her fork and started eating. She did not say anything else right away, but she did not leave either. She sat with him for the rest of lunch. This was different from any lunch Kofi had eaten at this school. The week after the scholarship review meeting, something arrived at Dr. Hin's office. It was an email from a Dr. Mensa Boateng, the chief editor of a European applied mathematics journal. The email said that a submission from 2 authors, Nana Asant and Kofi Asant, had passed its first round of peer review. It said the paper showed significant original contribution. It asked for a second submission window and an author biography. Dr. Hinz read the email once. Then she read it again. Then she printed it and put it on top of the scholarship file and stared at both for a long time. She picked up her phone and called Nana Asant directly. He answered on the second ring. She could hear the sound of a mop bucket being wheeled in a corridor somewhere nearby. "Mr. Asant," she said, "I need to meet with you and your son." "I can come in during my lunch break," Nana said. "I'll make sure the room is available," she said. They met in Dr. Hin's office at 12:30 on a Wednesday. Nana Asant came in his work uniform. He had washed his hands and combed his hair, but he was still wearing the gray shirt with the school logo on the chest. He sat across from Dr. Hinz and placed a folder on the table. Kofi sat beside him in his school uniform, his bag at his feet. Dr. Hinz put the printed email on the table between them. "I received this 3 days ago," she said. Nana looked at it. He nodded once. "You and your son submitted a paper to the Journal of Applied and Computational Mathematics," she said. "Yes," said Nana, "and it passed first peer review." "Yes," he said again. "Mr. Asant, I have to ask you directly. Why are you working as a custodian at this school?" Nana folded his hands on the table. "Because my son was placed here and I wanted to be close to him every day," he said. "I applied for the position when Kofi received the scholarship. It was the right choice." Dr. Hinz was quiet for a moment. She looked at Kofi. "And you have been co-authoring this paper since you were 10 years old." "Since I was 9 and 10 months," Kofi said. She looked back at Nana. "Why did you not tell anyone here about your background?" "No one asked," Nana said simply. He did not say it with anger. He said it like a man stating the temperature outside. Dr. Hinz sat back in her chair. She looked at the email one more time. "There is a scholarship review process happening right now," she said. "You may already know that. There is pressure from one parent to end Kofi's placement here." "I know," said Nana. "I want you to know that I will not allow that," she said. "What I want to discuss is something larger." She pulled out a second sheet of paper. It was a proposal, already typed. She slid it across the table. "Whitmore has an endowed research chair that has been empty for 2 years," she said. "It comes with a salary, an office, and full research support funding." Nana looked at the paper. He read it slowly and carefully. He turned to the second page. He set it down. "You are offering me a faculty position," he said. "I am offering you the position that matches your actual qualifications, Dr. Hinz said. Nana looked at Kofi. Kofi looked back at him and said nothing. His face was still. I need 3 days to review this and think, Nana said. Take whatever time you need, Dr. Hinz said. They stood. Nana picked up the proposal and folded it and placed it in his folder. They shook hands with Dr. Hinz and walked out. In the corridor, Nana put his hand briefly on Kofi's shoulder. Then he picked up his cart from the wall where he had left it and went back to work. Kofi went back to class. Aldous Fenwick did not know about the meeting in Dr. Hinz's office. He found out about it the same way he found out about most things he was not invited to, through other people. The parent who told him described an email from a European journal. They described a research chair offer. Aldous listened with the phone pressed to his ear and said nothing for a long time. Then he said, "I'll call you back," and he did not call back. He called Dr. Hinz instead. "I've heard something about a faculty offer," he said. "I'd like to understand what is happening with the custodial staff." Nana Asant is being considered for the endowed research chair in applied mathematics, Dr. Hinz said. He works with a mop, Aldous said. He works with a mop while holding 2 graduate degrees and a record of published research, Dr. Hinz said. He also just co-authored a paper with his 12-year-old son that has passed peer review at a major international journal. The line was quiet. The scholarship review for Kofi Asant is closed, Dr. Hinz added. His placement is not in question. I was told this school valued a certain standard, Aldous said. It does, she said. That is why we are making this offer. Aldous hung up without saying goodbye. He sat in his office for a while. His office had a view of the city and cost him $2,000 a month above his company's rent just for the view. He looked at the view and did not feel better. Breck heard about it from his father that night at dinner. Aldous said very little. He told Breck that the scholarship kid's father was being made a teacher. He said it in a flat voice, and then he cut his food and did not say more. Breck asked one question. What kind of teacher? His father said, the research kind. And then dinner was quiet for the rest of the meal. The next day at school, something had changed in the hallways. Word moves fast in small schools. By 8:30 in the morning, students were talking about Kofi's father and the paper. Some had looked up the journal online. One student had found an old conference photograph of Nana Asant in front of a whiteboard, young and focused, with a room full of adults listening to him. The photograph was 12 years old. Nana was 28 in it. Someone printed the photo, and it was passed around in the common room before first period. Priya saw it and looked at it for a long time. Then she put it face down on the table and went to find Kofi. She found him at his locker. The whole school is talking, she said. I know, he said. How do you feel? He looked at her. My father used to stand in front of rooms full of the best mathematicians in the world, he said. Then he spent 3 years pushing a mop so he could watch me walk to class every morning. I feel the same way I always feel. She did not ask what way that was. She understood well enough. In Mr. Delacroix's class that morning, the room was different. The difference was not loud. No one said anything about it directly, but the students sat in a certain way. When Kofi came in, 3 students who had never looked at him looked at him. One boy who always sat near Breck moved 1 seat to the left, which put more space between them. Breck came in last. He sat in his usual seat. He opened his notebook. He did not look at Kofi. Mr. Delacroix stood at the front and wrote a new problem on the board. It was a hard problem, but not the hardest kind. He worked through the first 2 lines and then he stopped. I am going to do something different today, he said. I have asked someone to assist me with instruction for the next 20 minutes. He looked toward the door. Nana Asant walked in. He was not in his gray custodian shirt. He wore a dark jacket and he carried a leather folder. He looked the same as always, broad, steady, unhurried. But in the jacket he looked like a different layer of himself had become visible. He walked to the front of the room and he stood next to Mr. Delacroix. Good morning, he said. His voice was deep and carried easily across the room. I am Kofi's father. My name is Nana Asant. I have a doctorate in applied mathematics, and I have published 9 papers in international journals. He said it without showing off. He said it the way you say your address. I am going to show you a different approach to the problem on the board. He uncapped the marker. He worked slowly and clearly. He spoke every line before he wrote it. When he wrote, his handwriting was clean and exact. He stopped twice to ask the class questions. And the questions were not easy. And when students answered, he listened to the full answer before responding. At one point, he looked at a boy in the third row who had the right idea but had said it in a clumsy way. You have the right shape of thought, Nana told him. Now find the right words for it. The boy tried again. This time it came out clean. Nana nodded once and moved on. Breck sat very still through all of it. Near the end of the 20 minutes, Nana turned back to the board. He wrote a final line and underlined it. Then he turned to face the room. My son is going to be a great mathematician, he said. Not because I believe it, because I can see the work. He looked at the room evenly. The work is what counts, everything else is noise. He capped the marker. He picked up his folder. He shook hands with Mr. Delacroix and walked out. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Mr. Delacroix turned back to the board and continued the lesson. Breck did not speak in class that day for the first time anyone could remember. He wrote in his notebook like always. He did not look up much. At the end of class, when students were packing their bags and talking, he sat for an extra moment at his desk. Then he stood and walked toward the door. He stopped at Kofi's desk. Kofi looked up. Breck did not say anything for a moment. He was not used to not knowing what to say. His whole life had been built around knowing what to say. That problem you solved, he said finally. The arc length one. I worked on it for 30 minutes at home the night before, and I could not get past the 5th line. Kofi looked at him steadily. He said nothing. I didn't know, Breck said. It was only 5 words, but they cost him something, and they both knew it. Now you do, Kofi said. He picked up his bag and walked out. It was not forgiveness. It was not friendship. It was just the truth stated plainly, which was all that was needed. Nana accepted the research chair offer on Friday. He would begin his new role at the start of the next term. He would keep a reduced schedule for the rest of the current term to allow the school to hire a replacement for his custodial duties. He asked for one condition in the offer, that the school's scholarship program be expanded from 1 city placement per year to 4. Dr. Hinz agreed without hesitation. On the afternoon that Nana signed the papers in Dr. Hinz's office, Kofi was in the library. He was at a corner table with his notebook open. The afternoon light came in through the tall windows and landed on the page. Priya sat across from him. She was working on her own assignment. They did not talk much. Every few minutes one of them would write something. Every few minutes the other would look up briefly and then look back down. At 3:40, Kofi wrote the last line of the 8th and final section of the paper. He put his pen down. He looked at the page. He turned back through the previous pages slowly, one at a time, reading without changing anything. When he reached the first page, he turned it face down and sat still. Done? Priya asked. The main body, he said. My father writes the abstract. When do you submit? Monday, he said. She nodded. She went back to her work. He picked his pen back up and started a new page. At the top of the page, he wrote 3 words, and then he began to write below them. The 3 words at the top were the title of the next paper. Outside the library window, a man in a gray custodial shirt walked across the courtyard below, pushing a cart. He stopped at the base of a large tree and looked up at the library windows for a moment. He could see, from where he stood, the top of his son's head bent over a notebook at the corner table. He watched for 3 seconds, then he picked up the cart handle and walked on.